guys, welcome back to We Watched a Movie. I am Mike, and today we're reviewing a movie called Carry On that Netflix has been advertising quite a bit, actually, as an original movie. And if you like movies like Die Hard, specifically Die Hard 2, Speed, Nick of Time, Sudden Death, Air Force One, The Rock, Passenger 57, Under Siege, and Cliffhanger, then this movie is for you, even though it's not as good as a single one of those films, in my opinion. But that's not technically the worst thing ever in this case, because if you can't tell, I love this genre. I might like this genre as much as I like horror. I might like this genre better than horror. Sue me, do something about it, Papa Joe. Why is your name Papa Joe? Because it sounds like a weird Boy Scout thing. You know what? This is my point. What I'm trying to make is I love these kind of movies. They don't make these anymore. Back in the 90s, when this movie, Carry On, specifically was made, it would have been made with a boatload of money, probably. It would have been a huge deal. It would have been a summer blockbuster. It's directed by a director who did a bunch of horror stuff before. They did Orphan, they did House of Wax, they did The Shallows, some pretty good horror movies in there, honestly, but they've also done a bunch of action stuff. They've kept the flag going for the Arnolds and whatnot of the world, except for these days that has to just be Liam Neeson and The Rock, unfortunately, in many cases. But they made some pretty good horror and action movies, especially for what's going on now, and that makes them the perfect person to direct this thriller. It's way more closer to a movie like Nick of Time with Johnny Depp and Christopher Walken than even Die Hard 2, where John McClane was an everyman, and that was the difference between him and Arnold Schwarzenegger and the big dudes. Taron Egerton is also an everyman, but it's nothing like a John McClane type character. So if like Arnold type over the top characters are here and your everyday kind of John McClane dudes are here, this character's like down here somewhere. So it takes the everyman trope to a step further. But one of the problems with the movie is, honestly, Taron Egerton's character is just a dude. I mean, there is none of that swag or charisma. You want to kind of feel like him in this situation, like what me as an everyday dude would do when I shit my pants. You know the Mighty Mighty Boss Tone song, I never had to knock on wood, you know? You want to kind of put yourself in his shoes when he's working as a TSA agent and a terrorist comes over an earpiece that they haven't put in his ear and is telling him that he's either going to let this suspicious bag go without stopping it and let it go onto an airplane, or there's a sniper who's going to kill his pregnant girlfriend. So that's kind of the situation that he's in. But the character itself, I don't know, like they tried to give him character, they tried to give it a personality, but he's just such an everyday guy that there almost is no personality. I never really got interested in the character. Triscuit cracker thin for me. Jason Bateman, on the other hand, is pretty fun because it's so weird. Like, you would never expect Jason Bateman in this role. It's ironic casting at its finest. He's your Hans Gruber type character in this, but what's cool about him is that this takes a guy who could blend into an airport like that people wouldn't be like, that guy's a fucking terrorist. He's just your average looking white dude, albeit he makes himself look like a bad guy by holding his trucker hat real low and wearing all black and a backpack. Come to think of it, actually, I would totally stop that guy in a fucking airport. But neither here nor there. For the sake of the movie, you gotta suspend a little bit of belief, and this movie asks you to suspend a lot of belief. There's a lot of contrivances and tiny things that happen in this movie. Why would this character do that? That would have totally gotten you busted. You never would have got away with that. Why didn't you just pull the trigger? Just all these sorts of things. And what I've seen in a lot of the reviews for this is that, hey, but it's that kind of movie. You're just supposed to forget that stuff. And you absolutely can, because it's an entertaining, fun movie, and you're there for the suspense and whatnot. But I will say that a lot of those older 90s movies aren't getting enough credit where credit's earned. Like, that stuff was sometimes in certain films was a lot tighter. And basically what I keep bringing those movies up is, if you're just someone who just watched this on Netflix and you're just like, whoa, this is weird, I haven't seen much stuff like this, go back through all those movies I mentioned, because you're going to have a fucking ball, I promise you. So, but for everybody else, you know, sometimes stuff like that happens. You can let it go, whatever. I'm having a good time with this film. Who cares if that didn't make any fucking sense or not? But if you're one of those people, you're gonna take a fine-tooth comb to this thing. It's like the joke about the porn box in 40-Year-Old Virgin. It's like, you put a black light on that thing, you can see it from space. But what I love about Jason Bateman is he's still Jason Bateman in this. On one second, he'll be like, I'm gonna fucking kill your girlfriend. And then the next second, he'll be like, so, what do you guys do for lunch? Do you like brown baguette? Or he's still in there, which makes the character so much more interesting if you had just some dude making I have to poop face throughout the entire movie, like mean mugging the camera. And they also did a really good job of making this sort of a workplace film too, because you kind of go into the dealings of these security guards and what they're dealing with these people at LAX during Christmas and how shitty people are to them, and they're surrounded by good characters as well. Like Dean Norris is the supervisor guard in this, and he had more character to his performance, I felt like, than Taron Egerton even did, but he was really good in the movie. And as I said, though it's not as good as any of those movies I mentioned before, they did a really good job kind of replicating a lot of that. The cat and mouse stuff between these two, it's sort of neat because This is different in a way that he has this earpiece in and he's talking to Jason Bateman the entire movie. And it adds this cool, like almost Scream-esque, you know, Ghostface over the telephone kind of ideal to it, which was really neat. I enjoyed that. And they got a lot of the tropes of thrillers and stuff like that right. They even do that really cool thing when it takes you from a contained space that you spend a lot of time in and it goes into something new. And you're like, oh, fuck, we're going on a field trip. This is exciting because you spent so much time in one place. Going to another one's pretty fun. And great movies like Speed and whatnot have done that. Red Eye does that. This has a little bit of that there too. I don't think they really used it as much as they could have, but when it goes on the road a little bit, it gets a little bit exciting. One thing about those scenes, though, that this can't match those films of old with is the way it looks and the money behind it. Look, there's just, back in the day, again, they would put so much behind this. The car chase scenes, the explosions, the things like that would have just been done practically, and they would have looked amazing in most cases. Even some of the bad movies like this back in the day, we never even thought to be like, that car chase looked fake. I mean, it just, most of them just looked amazing. And they put all this work behind them, the stuntmen and all this stuff. And there's scenes like that in here where it's just like, oh, pure fucking CG. And that's just the standard these days. I think, was it David Ayer, I think, was saying it, that these days they just don't put the kind of money behind these sort of films. So you won't see films like, they were talking about Seven in that instance. You won't see films like Seven these days because they're just not going to put that kind of money behind a drama or something without some crazy IP attached to it. So that's kind of just what they're dealing with. I don't blame the film for it, but yeah, I mean, there's a fist fight scene in with conveyor belts, and the fucking conveyor belts look CG, man. They look computer enhanced. So I'm like, oh God, does it just suck you right out of the realism and the tense moments? I mean, it just sucks you right out. But again, it's like we're watching a facsimile. I can't say that word right. It's not as good as any of those films, but it's nice to be fucking back inside of one of these movies again. It stays pretty suspenseful. It escalates. There's good cat and mouse stuff. It's totally worth a watch. The kind of like turn your brain off and just have a good time stuff for sure. And I love the Christmas setting, and it's perfectly timed, and just a feel good movie about a guy possibly wanting to murder a shitload of people. And with the writing, there's some bad forced exposition. I mean, sometimes characters will do that thing where they're like, I'm going to tell you everything right now for no other reason other than you need to know as an audience. And there's at one point where Bateman's even talking to this dude, and he's like giving him a pep talk about not giving up on life. Like the bad guy is doing this to him, and you're like, man, even up to the final couple punchlines, it was like, okay. Really the perfect kind of film to flip on after Christmas dinner or whatever, when you're at your in-laws' house and your grandpa's passed out with eggnog slopped down the side of his mouth, to watch with the family and have a good time with. Your Aunt Sheila's like, that guy's stupid, or someone else is like, he fucking did it, and you're like, the movie just started. And then someone who inevitably doesn't pay any attention and then ask everyone what's going on halfway through because the movie suddenly got interesting to them. It's a movie for everyone to just have a little bit of fun with, I feel like. And yeah, even the ending has a couple corn nuggets in it for sure that make you be like, what is this, a fucking progressive commercial? This is so dumb, but still enjoyable amidst all of its flaws. I miss movies like this. I had a great time with it. I recommend it if you do too. It's a movie that would have totally been forgotten in the age of the great thrillers, but today it's a sight for sore fucking eyes. And so are you guys. Thanks for watching this. For more Netflix movie reviews, movie news, all that good shit, make sure you click that subscribe button and get some goddamn wham up in ya. Love your fucking faces, guys. We'll see you soon.
What are you gonna do on October 31st?
What are you gonna do on October 31st?
Here comes that white-faced fucker, an asshole like no other. He's a big old piece of shit. Wants to stab your sister's tits cause he's a white-faced fucker. Loomis can't recover. Dr. Challenge drunk again, sleeping with your sister's friends.
Do you want to know about the darkness?
I said, God damn.
God damn you, faggot!
I said, God damn.
A lot of people don't know the darkness that goes inside their hearts.
I said, God